Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. I wanted to just kind of share, this is going to be a little inflow video, but it's funny, this is a picture I took in a store of like this chandelier, and I thought it was really cool. But one of the things I had seen in a vision that I had this last week was kind of me floating in between worlds. And this is what it looked like was floating all around me. But inside those panels were like worlds, like pictures and things. And I had seen this giant wall on this side and this other giant wall on this side. And this was one reality and this was another reality. And there were all of these, just this energy in between, and all of this was kind of around, and I was kind of had all these pieces, and I was kind of drawing in those pieces, and I was analyzing each one and seeing them all from different perspectives and shapes. And I'm just sharing that because sometimes I have these visions that I eventually figure out later what they mean, but for me that represents a lot. And some of us are having, through our focus, or through our meditation, or through our experiences, we're having these visions come in. So if you're having these visions come in and you're not exactly sure what they mean, that's okay. Sometimes they're meant to unpack later. Sometimes they're just meant to activate us to asking more questions. Sometimes the more questions we ask leads us to more answers or more synchronicities to give us those answers. And that's a totally different video about synchronicities. So let me just go into a little flow. And my intention with this is to share anything that might be beneficial for this now moment energetically. And I think it's going to be a little wordplay, but we're going to see how that goes. So as we shift and as we move, as we allow ourselves to shift and move, we shift and move through this new view, this new perspective, this new energetic directive. And this energetic directive allows us to redirect and reestablish our connections with the higher frequency that was disbanded a while ago. And we'll play with this for a moment. For many of us, felt as if we were stuck in a lower frequency for quite some time, or a lower bandwidth, or a lower region. We could say a lower region in our energy center. And many of us are coming back into center to reconnect all of our energy centers. I'm hearing reattach, to reignite that which was dormant within the body, and to let go of the attachments that many of us had that were creating this sense of abandonment. And I'm hearing like we felt as if we were disconnected, we felt neglected, we felt abandoned, all of these things from our higher source, But we're recognizing when we come into our center, our core stability, that all that we have is within us. All that we have access to is within us. Of course, all that we have is within us, but all this that is inside of us is I'm seeing this quantum star system, essentially. It's like technology, this quantum frequency of connection to all things. Uashik uamakai inik iahashik ai uahana ak anihe kai ushuna ua ak uneheshe. Some are asking, how can I establish this more? How can I establish this frequency more frequently? How can I feel into this frequency as frequently as possible? For I do not wish to be in the lower realms anymore. I do not wish to play in that. I'm hearing, what's behind door number 1, Bob? Tell them what they won, kind of thing. Like, we don't want to go there anymore. Let's look this way. So we are learning how to play, but we must first learn how to play. Meaning, we must first remember how to play. We must tune into the inner youth. You guys ever seen My Cousin Vinny? The Inner Youth. Anyways, Ia shukuya ene ke kai e shikua ene kai e titi shu maka ene he. So Carrie, had to let go of her judgments around light language, for instance. For example, she had to let go of her judgment about what others would think of her showing up in this way. It's true. And not worry about what others would say. This was a process for her. This was a process for her to go through in order to have that experience, in order to share this experience with you, in order to share this experience with others who might be having a similar experience. For who are we to say what another should or should not say based on our knowledge of the vocabulary play on words? For there is much we have yet to understand in the way of words, play on words. Like a lot is in the way of what we understand about words. A lot is in the way of us understanding and fully embracing language in all of its forms, whether it be light language or toning or poems, so on and so forth. And so we would go into more depth on this at a later time. But we seek to take this time now to accommodate, and this is a play on words, so I'm being called to play with that because we are talking about words. But what I'm seeing is like we're also being called to give gratitude to those of you who are doing something right now that you're afraid of, in the sense of what other people are going to think, in the sense of service to humanity. But again, it's service to being in playfulness, service to lighting up about yourself first. And I'm being called to clarify, like we have this idea that service to self is a bad thing, but we have to be in happiness first and find those moments of joy before we can help with the collective experience. Which isn't fully true, because we can still go and volunteer, we can still go help and be of service and yet be miserable on the inside. But then that takes away from the experience. It doesn't take us into the fullness of the experience, and it doesn't take us into the fullness of the exchange with that experience. It takes some of the flavor away, and we're supposed to experience all of the flavors, all of the colors of the rainbow. That's why we're here in this human body having this experience, because it's so chock full of layers and layers. What was the word? Accommodating? All right, I'll come back to this later. But what I'm seeing, I'm on edamonline.com. Fit one thing to another. Okay, measure, manner. So it's like, yeah. So some of the words that are used are to accommodate the playfulness in words and to assist us in accommodating more of our understanding of how language works and so on and so forth. So we use words to store or compact certain bits, like zip files of information. And there will be much more to share on this because this is a very exciting topic. However, we wish to explore many topics, and we wish to get back to one topic at hand. We are each in the process of our own process, and we are sending out a sense or ripple of gratitude for those of you who are sharing their process with others from the place and access space of the heart. For when we do this from a place of love and not ego, and this is also not to be judged, for ego can be very valuable and helpful in many ways. We are being called, though, to access this deeper sense of awareness so that we can share that awareness with others. For there are those who are still afraid to play their own drum. They're afraid of hearing their own voice. They are afraid of what other people will voice out about them. And the time for fear is over, if you will. Many of us are over it, and some of us can go overboard when we find our voice and we are not in balance with our inner voice, that of the innate, that is stable and strong and steadfast and true. Yet each of you, me and you, are part of the hue men. And so we will have moments of self-discovery online. We will have moments of self-discovery in line. Seeing somebody have like a meltdown at the grocery store or at the gas station. We will have these moments, and this is a shared moment. And when we have these moments, we are invited, when we see these moments, to express a place of support, to be aware that we have all been there before. And many of us are being called to open the door of our hearts. Let my love open the door. And allow ourselves to, I'm seeing part ways with the old, play our parts in the space of, like, that's gold, baby. So essentially, we're being called to have joy, bring the joy forward, and to just be playful about it. Like, you might want to write a poem, but you're worried about putting it online because somebody else is going to be like, that poem sucks. I just want to share, I still every once in a while have people that are what we refer to on the internet as trolls, which is not a compliment, by the way. But I want to just maybe inspire others to just put yourself out there if you feel that you can handle it. Now I'm being shown, like, can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can y'all dig it? Like, we're going to have moments that we're more sensitive, and those things can really hurt our feelings. So what we're being called to do is recognize that the time is it's not important for us to care about what other people think about us. And I still do, you guys. I still get upset or triggered if someone doesn't find my teachings helpful, or they make fun of me. It doesn't feel good to be made fun of. But on the flip side, usually people do that out of fear, out of genuine discomfort in their own body, the need to speak their truth, but they're speaking it from a place that isn't in their heart. Although they might say it's coming from the bottom of my heart, it's usually coming from the bottom of someplace else. And it can be a lot of things. And sometimes we are, that comes into our awareness so that we can let go of our own need to be liked, or our own desire, not just to be accepted. You know, how many of us want other people to like us, or want to feel accepted, or to be part of a group? You guys, this is something that not everyone is going to understand you. Certainly not everyone understands me, but I don't understand everyone else either. I do my best to stay open, and I do my best to stay in a place of non-judgment. That doesn't mean I always am. So I guess what the message that the guides are trying to get through is we can be accommodating to each other. We can, let me get back to that word. I'm being called to go back to it. Fit one thing to another, measure and manner. I'm seeing like an adapt. So we can all fit on this earth and adapt and accommodate one another without being overly accommodating. I don't have to agree with that person and what they're sharing, but it doesn't mean I have to put them down for what they're expressing. And this is all, what I'm hearing is all in do no harm. If someone's not doing anyone harm, clearly that changes what the message is. That's not what the message is about. This message is more about self-expression and allowing each and every one of us to be a part of this reality in our own individual and unique expression. And isn't that what we're seeing reflected back to us? That need to be able to be whatever we want to be. But we're also being called to not step on everybody else's toes or project our own, we could go into so many places, right? We're not being called to step on everybody's toes. So there's a fine line. And when we get into a place of coherence, we're able to fit a little more equally within the pie. And I'm hearing there's enough for everyone. Sometimes we feel as if we have to be right and another person has to be wrong. And by us saying, well, that person sounds like an idiot, in actuality, that judgment is a form of needing to control, or because they're afraid to be judged themselves, or maybe they were judged when they were a kid, a child, or their parents always made fun of everyone else or made fun of them. We just don't know what the circumstances are. And so we're really being called to support one another. That doesn't mean that we have to follow everyone's channel because we're supporting them. We are going to be called to groups of individuals and collectives that resonate with our frequency. And those that don't resonate, we're being called to give them their space and to come into a place of coherence around whatever that is and ask ourselves more, why am I triggered by that? Why do I feel the need to judge that? Why do I feel that that person is whatever label I'm giving them? That limits not only them, it limits us, because it puts all of that in a box that isn't real, because our opinion isn't real. It's real to us, but it's based off of our habits, patterning, and programming. And all of that is real. A habit is real. We really do this and that every day, but it isn't really who we are at the core of our being. And I'm coming back to what the guides were saying in the beginning, which is inner child. So rather than going around wounding everybody's inner child or creating a feeling of distortion, maybe we are being invited to look back at ourselves and say, where can I shift so that I don't cause a ripple effect that is a negative? How can I turn this reflection back on myself and see these pieces of me reflected back to me and these other people that I'm judging, that I'm wanting to project myself at, my opinions at, because my throat chakra clearly is not in balance. And I know there's people out there going, my throat chakra is perfectly fine when I tell someone they're an idiot. Well, that's an opinion. That's based on a belief, and beliefs are based on things that may or may not be real. Wow. So we just went into, apparently there's a lot of people that are going around doing a lot of judging right now. So if we just take this down a notch and simplify it, we are being called to step down off our soapbox and find our space within so that we can re-assimilate our words, so that we can find our state of being and presence and acknowledge the power of words and acknowledge the ripple and impact that each of us carries when we use those words from a place of judgment, anger, hostility, blame, all based around fear and ego. Ego gets a bad rap, and we are not here to downplay the ego, for it is very important, and we are called to find balance with part of what the ego offers us. However, when we are absorbed, I'm hearing self-absorbed, we tend to project those tendencies, I'm hearing narcissistic tendencies and things like that, on others so that we can feed off of that power or temporary power or temporary surge of energy that we are actually lacking in another area of our lives. So this is important, and for those of you who are in a place of recognizing when others are in this place, yet it is unrecognizable to them, we too are being asked to stay in a place of coherence and to honestly communicate from the most mature and yet inner child, which is, I'm hearing compassion. Whew. Be challenging sometimes, can't it? So this is the message right now. And these have been very simple messages because we are watching many people be very childish right now in their interactions. So while we are constantly saying go back within to the inner child, we are being called to recognize and differentiate between childish and inner child compassion, love, light, and playfulness. There is a huge energetic difference. While some children at a young age are still, I'm being shown like, you know, that age where you're just like, wow, flowers, wow. You know, before you get to the age where you're able to say things that are hurtful knowingly, right? There's I don't know what age that is, but anywho. So we end on this note. As we allow ourselves to grow like the beautiful flowers that we all are growing at our own speed. We are all giving off our own fragrance, if you will, through our chemistry. And while our chemistry may not line up with everyone's chemistry, there is many offerings. I'm hearing there is much to be offered. There are much, finding my words, speaking words. I'm seeing a periodic table of elements. And I'm seeing that certain combinations make beautiful things and certain combinations make not so beautiful things. But we're all creating this chemistry here on earth. And these flowers they attract, we're pollinating. So whether we realize it or not, we're always carrying with us these codes. What do we wish to express? And I'm hearing that saying that flowers are like the laughter, earth laughs in flowers. So it's kind of like be the flower and find that sweetness in life. There are moments when we're not going to be the flower. I'm seeing like we're more like the Venus flytrap or prickly pear cactus. But I'm being shown that we're all human, so we're not all going to be that beautiful flower all the time, but recognize that in each other. Let's support one another rather than throwing things at each other. Okay, so that is the message for right now. I'll go into a little bit more wordplay and probably some deeper, more complicated messages later that are actually a lot of fun to dissect about some of the changes that are happening on the earth and potentially in our solar system. That's been coming through a lot for me, so that'll be in the days to come. In the meantime, namaste, in love and light.